Hello and welcome to this training session for the Acendo Vibe ACV5100 video conferencing device. And the Acendo Vibe ACV5100, it's a plug and play video conferencing device. By plug and play, once you just connect it via USB to your computer, all the resources of the Acendo Vibe, the hardware resources, mainly the camera, the speaker, and then the microphone, become automatically available to your computer for use. So you don't need to download any external drivers to have the Acendo Vibe operational on your computer. Once you connect it to your computer, it will just get automatically installed and then you can use it right from the box. So let's get straight into it. We're going to look at the connectivity of the Acendo Vibe, Bluetooth, USB, and then HDMI. We're going to also look at powering on the Acendo Vibe and then also do some few troubleshooting. It's a very simple plug and play device to use, which doesn't need much of troubleshooting because it should not give you any issues at all. Once you have it connected to your computer, it's automatically installed and then you can use it right away. We'll also look at the remote control port and then we'll also look at the side panel keyboard. So let's get going. First of all, let's look at powering the Acendo Vibe ACV5100. So this is the Acendo Vibe ACV5100 video conferencing device. As you can see, the camera is on top of the device and then the entire bottom of it is made up of the speaker and then the microphone. So the camera is able to turn 180 degrees to the back on the left side and then 180 degrees also to the back on the right side. It cannot go 360. It just does 180 left, 180 right. And then it's also able to tilt up about 35 degrees upwards and then tilt back down to a level plane. So to have the Acendo Vibe powered, first you need to do your connections. The connection is behind it's just at the back side of the device. Once you turn the device facing down, the speakers facing down, you have access to the connector bay. Pop it open, which also happens to be the wall mounting brackets of the device. So pop that open and then you have all your ports. You have the power ports, DC power, optical audio, aux audio in, aux out. You have the HDMI out, HDMI in, and then we have the USB. So USB cable connects from the B type, B USB cable connects, and then the USB cable connects to your user computer. HDMI in cable is coming from the computer you're going to be using. So HDMI connected to the computer, then connects to the in of the Acendo Vibe. Then the HDMI out connects to your external monitor or projector or TV, whichever one you're going to be using. So once that is done, I'm just going to close the back of it again and have it powered on. Okay, so the Acendo Vibe does not have a power switch on the device. Once you plug it into your power socket and then you turn it on, the device will automatically come on. So note, once I turn on the device, I'm going to turn it on. You should notice that all the LED lights on the side, this is a side panel keyboard, it's on the left side of the device. All the side panel keyboard, the LED lights all came on, and then for some few seconds then they all went off, leaving only the plus, minus, and then the audio source selection button and audio list LED on. So once it's powered, all the LED lights will come on for a few seconds and then go off again, leaving only these 4 LED lights on, indicating that it is in full operational mode. Okay, so I have my Acendo Vibe turned on. Now I'm going to just do the connections and then we continue from there. Back to my computer, I'm just going to connect my USB cable, which is from the Acendo Vibe. I'm also going to connect the HDMI cable, which goes to the Acendo Vibe as a video source. Okay, so once the connection is done, my monitor is now on. It's just reading all the information on my desktop also onto my monitor. Okay, so now pay close attention to this. When the Acendo Vibe is connected via USB and HDMI to your computer, it now brings the hardware capabilities of the Acendo Vibe as hardware resources on your computer to use. By this, I mean that the microphone becomes available to your computer, the speakers also become available to your computer, and then the camera also becomes available to your computer. So to be sure that you are using the right resources or the right hardware, you have to configure, or let me just put it, you have to set your computer to use the Acendo Vibe as probably the speakers, the microphone, and then the camera, and then you make sure the same setting also corresponds on the Acendo Vibe. So let's get into it. Now, when on my computer, I'm just going to set my speakers. So once these are the various speakers I have on my computer, now I have my inbuilt speakers, and then I have the Dell, which is the HDMI cable are connected to the Acendo Vibe. This is it, and then I have the USB speakers also. So the one I want to, I'm just going to use my HDMI, so I'll leave it on the HDMI. Now on my Acendo Vibe, I have to do the same thing and be sure that the HDMI I have selected on my computer as the Acendo Vibe audio output should correspond to the audio source of the Acendo Vibe. Now the Acendo Vibe has 5 audio sources. It has the Bluetooth on top, it has the HDMI, it has aux in, it has optical, and then it has USB. That is 5. Bluetooth 1, HDMI 2, aux in 3, optical 4, and then USB 5. Now, by default, when you've connected the USB cable and the HDMI cable to the same computer, the USB will override the HDMI, which means that the USB is giving more priority than the HDMI. So both connected by default, USB will be set as the default output speaker on the Acendo Vibe. So to make sure that you are using the right one for the computer and then also for the Acendo Vibe, just make sure that once you changed your computer to HDMI, you should also change the Acendo Vibe audio source to HDMI. So my computer is on HDMI. I'm just going to change my Acendo Vibe by pressing the audio source selection list button until it reaches HDMI. So I have HDMI on my Acendo Vibe and then HDMI on my computer. So that if I go to my computer and then I play, so I'm just going to play a random song on my Acendo Vibe. Okay, so I'm just playing a random song, and that is what is playing now on my speakers, because I've made sure that my speakers is on HDMI on my computer and it's also on HDMI on my Acendo Vibe. Okay, so let's continue from there. Let me pause the song. Okay, so that's it for the connectivity of the HDMI. Now pay close attention to this. As we're going on, I'll be telling you to pay close attention to some of the things I'm going to be stressing on. Basically, that is just the troubleshooting bits of it as we are just going along with it. So pay close attention. Now, when you connect the HDMI via the Acendo Vibe, you get access to only speakers. HDMI gives you access to only speakers. It does not give you access to camera. It does not give you access to microphone. HDMI connection gives you access to only speakers. When you connect USB gives you access to speakers, gives you access to microphone, gives you access to camera. Please note the difference. USB will give you access to all 3 resources: microphone, camera, and speakers. HDMI will give you access to only 1 resource, which is speakers. So please take note of that. Now, on the left side of the Acendo Vibe is a side panel keyboard. And the side panel keyboard has a couple of buttons which you're going to be looking at. It has a microphone mute button, the Bluetooth pairing button, volume plus, volume minus buttons, speaker mute button, and then the audio source selection button, on top of which you have the audio source selection list. Like I mentioned earlier on, the audio source selection list is made up of the Bluetooth, HDMI, aux in, optical, and then USB. Those are the audio source list. Okay, so we're going to come back here when we are doing the other Bluetooth, microphone, we're doing all those things. We'll come back here and then we'll take a look at how each of them operates. But basically that is just the same: speaker mute, microphone mute, Bluetooth pairing button, volume plus, volume minus, audio selection list. That's what makes up the side panel keyboard. Okay, now let's go on and do online video conferencing using Zoom. Now we've connected, we've done the HDMI connection, we've done the USB connection. Now let's see how we can put all those resources to use on a live Zoom meeting. I'm back on my computer. I'm going to go do the Zoom meeting. So I have my internet connected. I've opened up my browser. I'm just going to go onto the Zoom platform. Sorry. So let me log in. Let's log in with my Google account. Okay, so on the Zoom platform, I'm just going to host a meeting. Note this, I'm going to host a meeting with video on. So host a meeting with video on. Here, always open up my Zoom clients. Okay, so yes, join with computer audio, yes. Okay, so when the Zoom app, the Zoom client opens, because I've set it to open with my video on, automatically it jumps to the immediately available camera resource on the computer, which for me has been the Acendo Vive because it's already connected to my computer. So my camera, the video is on, and then the microphone is also on. But to be sure I'm using the right resources, I click the small arrow beside the microphone, and then I make sure my microphone select is on microphone AMX Acendo Vive. My speakers is on USB audio codec, which is the USB of the Acendo Vive, giving me access to the speakers of the Acendo Vive. And I'll go also to the camera. My camera is set to AMX Acendo Vive, which is the Acendo Vive camera. So let me go into video settings. Now in video settings, make sure to turn on HD. HD should be on. If I turn off HD, see how my video looks like. You see, it looks a bit more like it's just zoomed in. But if I turn the HD back on, notice it. You see, it's zoomed out. I can also turn on original ratio if I want to. But you can leave original ratio on if it doesn't bother you in any way, doesn't make any changes to your camera. Okay. All right, so that's it for the camera. And then I'm going to go into my audio settings. Now, inside my audio settings, you see my speaker is on speakers USB audio codec, and then I have my microphone also on Acendo Vive AMX. Now, by default, Zoom client usually turns on automatically adjust microphone volume, and then also suppress background noise is set to auto. Now, those are default settings for Zoom. I'm just going to take you through some critical troubleshooting here, which you should pay close attention to. When audio settings for Zoom is set to automatically adjust microphone volume, suppress background noise, the Zoom client does some thinking for you, in that it tries to determine by itself which sound or which audio getting into the microphone should be treated as noise, okay, and for which it will be suppressed out of your microphone. And then also it tries to determine for you how loud or how sensitive the microphone should be. So we're going to just do a small demonstration to understand what is happening here. So once I have automatically adjust microphone volume on, and then I have suppress background noise set to auto, let me test microphone. I'm going to test microphone with a repeated sound just by clapping. I'm going to clap 7 times. Let's see if the microphone, the Zoom client, will capture all the 7 claps. So test microphone. Microphone. counted only like three or two. Let's try that again. So do you notice what is happening? I'm clapping like 7 times, but the Zoom client is detecting more than half of my clap as noise, so it's cutting out the remaining half of it. But now let's do another test with microphone, but this time around I'm just going to talk. So test mic on. Hello and welcome to today's training session for the Acendo Vibe ACV 5100. Hello and welcome to today's training session for the Acendo Vibe ACV 51. It's actually recorded all my voice because the algorithm is set in such a way that it's able to recognize, like when it's like it's able to recognize human voice rather than just a repeated sound, which it tends to identify as noise. So to overcome this sort of like, it's become like a limitation because I want to be the one to decide what is noise and what is not noise. So to do that, I'm going to turn off automatically adjust microphone volume. I'm also going to set suppress background noise to low. Okay, so now I can adjust my microphone volume. Now let me try clap. All my clap sessions were recorded fully. So note, this is how to overcome this challenge. If you notice that maybe you are not, the microphone seems not to be picking audio, just make sure you turn off automatically adjust microphone volume and also set suppress background noise to low. So in this way, you have full manual control over your microphone and to determine how loud or how sensitive the microphone should be. Okay, so that's that for the audio session. Let's go back to the video. The video basically has nothing much to set to it. Once you have your camera set to Acendo Vibe, you can set it to HD, set your camera quality to HD. As you can see, Acendo Vibe becoming. As you can see, my camera quality is set to HD, and then also original aspect ratio is set. If I turn off HD, my camera looks small. If I turn off original aspect ratio, it's like it's zoomed in. So if I turn on HD, boom, it zooms out, and then I can see like more than enough of my face. Okay, all right, so now that if I want, I can auto adjust for low lights, which boost up the brightness a little bit, but it makes the highlights and then the whites turn a little bit more to white, trying to up the shadows to compensate for that. But you can also touch up your appearance to add some amount of noise reduction effect to the video from the camera. Okay, so that is basically that for the Zoom conferencing. Okay, so once you have your Acendo Vibe connected via USB, you have access to microphone, you have access to camera, you have access to speakers. You can do all the necessary changes as you want to. So we've just gone through how to do it for Zoom, and then please take note and then always keep that in mind. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll move on to the next session, which is Bluetooth pairing. Now, pairing my Acendo Vibe to Bluetooth. First off, change the audio selection source of the Acendo Vibe to Bluetooth. So I change my audio selection, pressing my audio selection button, I change it to Bluetooth, the Bluetooth signal. Then also I press on the Bluetooth pairing button, which will start flashing blue. So the Bluetooth pairing button is on. Then I go onto my device, I turn on my Bluetooth on my device. I go into my device settings. I look for the Bluetooth settings. And then you should immediately see Acendo Vibe as one of the pairable devices available on your device to pair. Once you click the Acendo Vibe device, it will ask you to pair. Click yes or okay to accept the pairing. Once the pairing is done, the Bluetooth, yes, pair. Once the pairing is done, the Bluetooth LED light flashing on the Acendo Vibe will stop flashing and it will light up blue, indicating that the Acendo Vibe is now paired to a Bluetooth device. So on my device that is paired, I'm just going to go on and then play an audio from my device. I'm going to play an audio right here from my device. Okay, so my audio is playing. I'm going to increase the volume. Let me turn off the volume on the Acendo Vibe. Okay, so that is my audio playing on my Acendo Vibe ACV 5100. I'm playing audio from my phone and then it's playing through the Acendo Vibe. Okay, so if I pause it on my phone, it's paused on the Acendo Vibe, and then if I play. Okay, so that's it for the Bluetooth pairing for the Acendo Vibe. Great, now let's go into the remote control port for the Acendo Vibe ACV 5100 video conferencing device. The remote port looks like a cylinder that has been slashed in half. It looks like a cylinder slashed somewhere in half. So just make sure you put batteries into it. To open it up, turn it upside down. You should see two padlocks. One on the left is unlocked, one on the right is locked. So you just, which is on top of the device, which is at the top side of it, two padlocks. And you see another set of two padlocks at the downside of it. One on top is unlocked, one on the bottom is locked. So slide the button one to unlock position. I just slid the button one to unlock position, and then I turn the bottom cover, slide it to the left, open it up, slide in your batteries. Sorry. Okay, once that is done, put the cover back on into position, and then shift it back into lock position and slide the button to lock position. Okay, so once there's power in the remote control, the buttons on the remote control should start flashing. Okay, any one of them should start flashing or would come on to indicate that there is power in the remote control button. And by default, the remote control is already paired to the unit that the Acendo Vibe ACV 5100 video conferencing came with. So each remote is paired to its own device. So once I have my remote, on the remote, I have my audio source selection button, I have my Bluetooth pairing button, I have the microphone mute button, I also have the speaker mute button, and I have an end call button. Back to my side panel control keyboard. If I should press the source button on my remote control, notice that it changes the audio source selection. Just cycles through as I press it, just cycles through as I press it. And then have my USB also. If I want to unpair the Acendo Vibe, I can just click the USB button, press and hold it for a couple of seconds, see if it goes off, and then it's out of USB pairing mode. It's no longer paired to any device. So that's if I can mute speakers right from the Acendo Vibe remote. Speakers is mute. I can mute microphone as well. If I click yes, microphone is mute. If I unmute, microphone is unmuted, and speakers also just unmute. Okay, so the remote control also controls the volume of the Acendo Vibe. If I just go on and then play the music I was playing before via HDMI cable. Now I'm playing music via HDMI cable, but as you can see, the source is set to USB. So I just changed the source back to HDMI. Then I have my audio playing. Okay, I'm just reducing the volume on my speakers. The circular body of the remote, the top circular part of it, is a volume control. Once you just Just grasp it, don't force it. Once you hold it can tense. Okay, so that's it for the remote control of the Acendo Vive ACV5100. Now, another thing about the camera that you should notice is that when the camera is active, there's a thin LED light around the camera. Okay, where the camera sits on top of the speaker unit, the thin LED light flashes and turns on. Once the camera is active, this LED light will turn on white. And the camera is active because, as you can see, I still have the zoom, which is accessing the camera on. So I'm just going to close my zoom. When I close the zoom, notice what happens to the LED light. It goes off because no app is accessing the camera, so the LED will just go off. Okay, so that is it for this training session for the Acendo Vive ACV5100. Like I said earlier on, the Acendo Vive is a very simple plug and play to use device. It doesn't require a lot of knowledge to be able to operate it. You don't need to download any external drivers to even start with. It automatically installs onto your computer, and then you have access to all the resources, the hardware resources of the device to make use of it. So thank you very much for participating in this training, and I hope that you have a lot of fun using your Acendo Vive ACV5100 video conferencing device. Keep it safe and then stay well and keep safe. Thank you.